some people online on Twitter taking some impulsive...
Some presidents.
Some presidents, at 3 a.m. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Ask. My guest today is the Community Director at Yelp here in Toronto, Canada. Kris, great having you on the show.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So Kris, tell us about yourself.
Well, recently married, father of one, and thank you. I've been working with Yelp now for 6 years now.
Wow,
yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So for the 5% people who doesn't know what Yelp is, can you tell us about what Yelp does?
It's my favorite answer to give. So Yelp is a website and an app. Unfortunately, not in all countries, but in a lot of countries around the world, that helps to connect people to local businesses. They do that by people sharing their experiences, good, bad, or otherwise, via reviews, pictures, comments like tips about the business, any number of exchanges that allows the business to have some feedback in real time about how they're performing.
How does the businesses on Yelp deals with the bad, negative comments on Yelp?
Sure. So, like any business, you're going to have an off day. So Yelp provides business owners a few different ways in which they can address sometimes negative reviews. One of the best things that they can use is they would claim their business page. So there's depending on your country it changes, but in Canada it's biz.yelp.ca. And in the US, for example, it's biz.yelp.com, and that's the business owner login. In there's a whole host of free tools that Yelp provides business owners with which to enhance their business page with either free tools or paid tools. And then there's even an opportunity for business owners to respond to reviews either privately or publicly. Privately if you'd like to take a matter offline, publicly if it's to correct something, or just say thank you sometimes for a negative review, because business owners do say thank you for the feedback.
I think that's a smart strategy.
I think so. I think my advice to business owners, small or large, if they're using Yelp to communicate with their audience, their community, respond to negative and positive reviews in equal amounts. Because if you're just responding to negative, you're highlighting the negative. If you're responding to the positives and the negatives, people know that you take their negative commentary and feedback seriously, but that you also appreciate it and you appreciate the positives.
Yeah. Can you give a good example of any case study that someone worked with correctly with the negative review and make it flip?
You know what? There's because the businesses manage their own interactions on a day-to-day basis. I know businesses that have taken our advice or my advice and it's benefited them. Now, benefit doesn't necessarily mean that the person changes or takes down their review. What it can mean is a business owner, I can't remember a specific one, but I know that there have been a few instances where a business owner has said, hey, so-and-so, thank you so much for the feedback. We'll definitely address this with our kitchen or with our staff and work on this. In a few weeks, we'd love to invite you back to try us again and let us know what you thought.
That's cool.
They did not.
So you on Yelp help the business owner to navigate through that content?
No, they manage their own site. We just give them the coaching and the tools.
That's cool.
So they can always ask me for advice. How would you manage that? It's their business at the end of the day, so it has to be authentic and from their voice.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you how to respond to your reviews, but I can say like, hey, maybe don't swear at them, or maybe don't, maybe don't beg them or offer them money. Like those are all things that would be big no-nos. But being authentic, being upfront, and being gracious, I think, and also taking the time to walk away from a negative review and cool down before you respond. That's probably the biggest tip.
Don't be impulsive.
Don't be impulsive. We've all seen some people online on Twitter taking some impulsive...
Some presidents,
at 3 a.m. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, there's some people at 3 a.m. who just jump on Twitter and they're impulsive, and and business owners, for better or for worse, they're people just like us, and sometimes they have their feelings hurt. And it's important to remember that if your feelings are really hurt, you're not going to respond in a business manner. And the way I always relate it to people is picture that person was telling you those things to your face. how would you respond in your business in front of other customers? When you put it in those contexts,
Yeah.
people tend to realign their thinking and say, okay, I would put on my customer service face and say, I'm sorry you feel that way, or thank you very much for your
That's a
feedback.
good perspective.
Yeah. Imagine, people forget sometimes that everyone's listening online. In fact, it's more, if you have a 100-person restaurant at capacity, that's only 100 people.
Yeah.
If you respond negatively on social media or on Yelp,
It's unlimited.
it's an unlimited number of feedback. So you want to make sure that you're conscious of that and you respond accordingly as if everyone was listening, as if your grandmother was listening.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What did you learn? What did you study?
Sure.
College, university?
I went to university just about an hour and a half outside of Toronto. It's called Wilfrid Laurier University. I studied communications. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to go into business. Took communication studies. It was a good degree. It ended up being a degree that now a lot of companies are looking for social media jobs. I thought I wanted to go into business and got into a bunch of business schools, but I really liked the culture of the university that I went to, the people, the campus. I went more for a lifestyle than an education. But what I realized was, while social media was still in its infancy, when I was going to school and the degree necessarily didn't have a connection, it did afterwards, but a lot of my learning came in out of classroom in university. I was really involved, I was working with companies to help connect them to students, travel companies. I was part of a fraternity at a period of time, so it taught me how to be more outgoing and more interactive, planning social events, and eventually those things are what got me hired here at Yelp.
Yeah, I think that's the advantage now of the academy. Now it's not necessarily the courses that you do, it's only the community and the people and the networking that you require there. What's your current challenges right now on Yelp?
Current challenges, I think it's just moving the needle to the next level. When I started my Yelp market, Yelp Greater Toronto area, 6 years ago, it was more just about basic awareness, teaching people what Yelp was.
Yeah.
Obviously, those challenges change. Now, more people, everyone knows what Yelp is, for better or for worse. I guess some of the current challenges that I face now are a lot different than what I faced 6 years ago. 6 years ago, it was more about just general awareness of what is Yelp. Now it's more about educating how to use Yelp, how the benefits of teaching them the skills, like I was mentioning before, about responding to reviews, or even for users, teaching them all the different cool things that Yelp can do and bringing those people together.
What people doesn't know about Yelp now?
I don't know. I think it's a generational thing. I feel like the millennial and Gen I are very aware of reviews. I think a lot of them don't make purchase decisions or go out in the evening without consulting some sort of review, even if it's just posting on their Instagram and being like, hey, where does everyone go for food tonight?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
You take like word of mouth on steroids and make it like a platform, right?
If you think about how people used to find out where to go eat when they were in town, if they were visiting Tel Aviv or they're visiting Toronto, they would ask a few friends who'd been. Now you have this great resource, the internet, where, like you say, it's word of mouth on steroids, and we're able to build these pages on Yelp where a mom and pop shop that you would have to be a local to know about it now has 500 reviews, and it's insane. So I mean, that's the benefit I really love about Yelp, is that we're giving a platform to promote businesses that would never be able to invest the same money to get that kind of awareness.
Facts. And what is the exact difference between working on Facebook for the same business owner and then working on Yelp?
Well, I mean, it's two different companies, and I assume we have different approaches. I don't know a lot about Facebook's model for reviews. On the flip side, with Yelp, I mean, again, I can't speak to the specifics of Facebook's business model, but on the flip side with Yelp, we protect business owners from those kind of interactions. So everyone has a bad day. So the one time you say something negative in the media and it all comes back on you, Yelp has a team internally that reviews instances like that to help protect you. It's called, it's a vigilante thing where someone who's never been to a business before all of a sudden is writing, "Don't go to this business, it's terrible. They do this or that, which I'm offended by." And if they start getting a lot of it, we protect against that. On the flip side, you don't have to like a Yelp page or a Yelp business
To review
them.
Yeah.
It's honest, open feedback. You haven't been solicited. You didn't get driven there because of an ad.
Yeah. And what small and medium companies, businesses can gain by working with Yelp?
What can they gain?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's first and foremost it's getting some exposure, just general awareness about your brand. Yelp has a bunch of new tools now that help businesses, say small, medium-sized businesses that operate on offering quotes.
Yeah.
Contractors, service technicians, people who need to quote on your business. So you can review anything on Yelp. You can review a government building, a hotel. You can review a park. It's not a business, but it's a space.
Yeah.
So for people who are like small, medium-sized businesses, let's say an IT consultant who does IT work. If he had a Yelp page and had a link up that was offering quotes, someone could say, "Hey, I have a tower computer from from Apple, and it's making this whirring sound, and this is what the screen looks like." You think about it, in the time it takes for a guy to drive to your place, he could already have an idea what the issue is and tell you roughly what it's going to cost you to fix.
Facts.
It's pretty cool.
How is Yelp promoting itself for businesses that doesn't have Yelp yet?
Good question. So that's why I exist. So most times what happens is when a new business opens, there's so much excitement about it. Usually it's an actual, just an everyday user who's like, "I'm going to check into this business." They see it's not there, and there's the ability for a user to add themselves.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that as a business before you open, you're allowing someone else to dictate your conversation in advance. So it's becoming more common knowledge, when you start a new business, you're setting up your Facebook page, you're setting up your Instagram, but now it's becoming even more common for you to set up or make sure that you've set up a Yelp page properly with your own pictures. Before there's a review, you can't write your own reviews, but you can add your beautiful pictures from your menu that you just paid all this money to take, repost them on Yelp, so that way people know what's on your menu.
Yeah.
Making sure your address is correct, making sure your phone number is correct.
Yeah, so it's actually controlling your business representative online.
That's right.
What's the difference between Toronto and Manhattan and some other big companies on Yelp perspective?
Well, I think it's also just like the amount of people. So like in Toronto and GTA, Toronto there's 2.8 million people. Outside, if you include the Greater Toronto area, you're looking at about 5 to 7 million people. So, but that's spread out over a large area. When you're looking at Manhattan, LA, I mean, these are major Yelp markets where there is such a saturation and concentration of business. If you're not playing in a certain space, you're missing a huge amount of opportunity. So Yelp has flourished in places like Los Angeles and New York City, for example. They're two of the biggest markets, and San Francisco. They're flourishing in those markets and always have, just because of the saturation of businesses and people trying to make sure that they're not being left out of any conversation.
Yeah.
In the same way, like I said, a business would not go on without a website.
That's right.
Or a Facebook page or whatever.
So it's becoming basic as all of these platforms.
It's becoming an essential
tool.
So
what's the penetration percentage in Toronto with Yelp?
That I don't know. I don't know. We don't know specific stats like that. But yeah, I can always look that up for you if it's available. What I do know is speaking in terms of just the amount of businesses that are what we call being claimed. So like I said, anybody can create a Yelp page, and it's for the business owner to go to that biz.yelp. Whatever your country is, to actually take ownership of that page back from public domain. So we've noticed that between Toronto and the GTA, that those numbers of claimed businesses per day has been going up and up and up and up in the last 4 or 5 years. So
that means you're doing a good job.
I hope so.
What kind of new fields does Yelp getting into these days?
So there's two really exciting acquisitions that I know Yelp's made in the last couple of years that's really helped kind of change the game in terms of connecting people with local businesses. The first of which is they acquired a Toronto-based company called Turnstile. Now Turnstile is now called Yelp Wi-Fi. So you will have your own Wi-Fi in your business, in your store or restaurant, but before people were just having, the password written on the wall somewhere.
Yeah.
What Yelp Wi-Fi, to my understanding, because it's not my main area of business, but to my understanding, what Yelp Wi-Fi allows you to do as a business owner is put a simple password in front of that screen that they have to authenticate through. But then now every time that you go to that business, it acts as a
Branded page.
and I've used it in the community as a test just to see how I can use it, say, at a marketing booth in the field.
Yeah. I just noticed it on Starbucks. They have it.
Yeah, Starbucks is not Yelp Wi-Fi, but it is the same kind of idea.
Yeah.
The difference is you've already usually registered with Starbucks, and you don't usually need an email address to register. It's just open.
Yep.
But with Yelp Wi-Fi, you need to use your email or Facebook to authenticate yourself. With Facebook, for example, you grab all the demographic data. And what's nice, what I think is really cool about Yelp Wi-Fi is in the remarketing and the email marketing that follows, let's say you haven't been to my coffee shop in 5 weeks. I can send you a message and say, hey, here's a coupon. We haven't seen you in a while. Or let's say you walk past the same coffee shop every day of the week. You've already registered at that spot with their Yelp Wi-Fi once. Every time you pass it, it might be connecting and counting as a visit. After, say, 10 visits, you might schedule an email to go out to that person and say, hey, we noticed you've been here a lot. Thanks for your patronage. Here's whatever.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's a reward system. And the other really cool program, it's another acquisition. I think it was out of Pittsburgh. It's called No Wait. So, when you're going to a popular restaurant, usually there's a wait.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go there, put your name down, go get a drink somewhere else. With the No Wait platform, as I understand it, from the Yelp app, you can put yourself digitally in line, in queue. So you live 20 minutes away from the restaurant that you're going to go to. Mm-hmm. You look online, it says there's a 20-minute wait. You can add yourself right there. So as you're walking up, you're walking into your seat.
Cool. And it's very expensive platforms, and you give it to your every user.
Well, yeah, any user can use it for free. The business owners obviously pay for those added features.
Yeah. Mm. Does Yelp considering getting into the Israeli market?
That I don't know for sure. I know Yelp was expanding quite aggressively through the beginning part of my tenure with the company. And now every time they would launch in a new country, they would hire somebody like me
on local basis,
feet on the ground,
yeah,
just to get the conversation churning. And they always noticed huge growth. I know for right now, they've scaled back on the international expansion. They're just trying to focus on growing their core market, which is right now been North America.
Yeah.
They're focusing on that. The site still is active in all the countries it was before. So I can't speak exactly to what the plans are for expansion in the future. I would like to see it in Israel, honestly, because it's in, I'm trying to think the closest countries it would be in. It's in most of Western Europe. It's in Turkey. That would be probably the closest. Turkey and Greece would be probably the closest to where you're at.
Yeah.
So that would be where it's at right now. It's in a lot of Asia. And I think all of us who work for Yelp would love to see the company continue to grow internationally, because we all see how cool a resource is here at home.
And you see companies like Netflix that expand globally very fast, because if the product is right,
that's right,
that all of the world can use it.
That's right.
Lots of business owners see this show, and I want to hear your thoughts, your advice for them, for what they should do on better marketing.
Sure. Well, I think one of the best things that you can do, whether you have a $10 budget or a $10 million budget, is remember who your customers are, and remember how they think and interact with them authentically at their level. There's a lot of top-down conversation where I'm the company, you're my customer, but more and more companies now are starting to communicate at the level, and that's why social media has become so powerful. I think it's because
like a friend.
Yeah, and you're putting people who are authentic and do care about the customer, about the success of the company. I love what so many brands are doing now, integrating. Obviously, there's a lot of chat AI bots and whatnot. But I love the fact that you can have a conversation with a company that previously was, faceless.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Yelp has been successful. Is it's giving business owners, whether again you are a small mom and pop shop with 3 chairs to serve customers, or
Or you're Will Smith.
Yeah.
Will Smith is now like is growing his Instagram like crazy. He's doing a great job, and like lots of some people on his comments just challenge him with some heli bungee. So you go in a helicopter and you do bungee jumping from there. So they just challenge him and he just took it and he videotape everything. It's like he's recording every day in his life, and he's very approachable. So we were back in the days we're celebrities, you couldn't reach them,
Yeah.
like brands, and now everything is more accessible and
That's
like one click away and talking to them.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Well, it's interesting because you have people like Will Smith. I didn't even know. I knew I was seeing his videos way more often. But I just thought he was kind of just like enjoying talking. But yeah, you're right. With that kind of approach, I mean, that's what Twitter was in the first phase.
Yeah.
When Twitter first came out, it was the first time you had an opportunity to maybe have a chance at interacting with a celebrity or a person, politician. So anybody can interact, business owners. So I like the fact that the playing field is level. So the advice I would give, in addition to knowing your customer, which is always important, but be transparent, be open, be approachable. I think that is you can send your message any way you want: print, digital, radio, television.
Yeah.
But people are listening, in what I've seen, less and less towards the ads and more towards what you say when you're being questioned.
Yeah.
So that would be just authenticity.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Kris.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much. It was
My
super
pleasure.
interesting. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Not me. Dodger punches, Ali in his prime. I just see the world a little different. My own state of mind. I just take the life I'm living soon.